On the surface, Yume Nikki looks like a fairly innocent RPG, but once you start playing, you'll quickly realise that it's anything but. You'll come across murder victims, weird abstract lands, and lonely corridors with strange figures that will have you constantly on edge. You play as a girl called Maratsuki. All you can do in her room is play a simple video game, write in her diary to save, go onto a balcony to see what time of day it is, and climb into bed to sleep. If you do, however, you're transported to a dream version of the balcony. It's not immediately apparent that it's even a dream, but upon entering the room, you'll notice one crucial difference. No video games. Also in the dream world, you can actually leave the room. It leads to this strange place with 12 doors, and each one of them takes you to a different area. You'll honestly never know where you'll end up. You could be walking through a beautiful park one minute, stumble across a seemingly ordinary house, and find yourself walking through hell. Then, whilst in hell, you can find a set of stairs that leads to a totally different realm with entirely different graphics. Still, even if you know exactly where these doors lead to, it's not clear what you have to do. You could explore each and every one of these dream worlds for several hours and still be utterly clueless on your goal. So to save time, I'll tell you exactly what the goal is. The aim of the game is to fall asleep and then enter the dream world. Then, whilst exploring the door worlds, you're supposed to find a specific NPC that will give you something known as an effect. There's 24 effects in total, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but a few of my favourites are the Witch effect, which lets you fly, the Medimord effect, which lets you teleport to the door room, and the Stoplight, which when activated, turns your light from green to red and freezes every NPC. But even when you know that you've got to collect these effects, it's not going to be an easy task to find them, as the NPCs you're supposed to go to could literally be anything. On top of that, exploring the worlds isn't exactly linear. For one thing, they're absolutely huge, but they're also quite empty and looping, so it's hard to tell exactly where you have and haven't been. The dream worlds also have a bad habit of tricking you into thinking that you're making progress towards an effect's location, when in reality, you're just going on a wild goose chase. Let me show you. So, if you climb into your bed whilst in the dream world, there's a random possibility that you'll get teleported to a staircase. Then, if you go down the staircase and through this corridor, you'll find a door that you can't get to because of a fire. If you've got the umbrella effect, however, you can put out the fire with rain. Now you can go through this room and enter a spaceship, and whilst on the spaceship you can find a bed. But, like the bed which leads you to the long staircase, this bed will randomly trigger an event, and if it doesn't, then you have to go out of the room, come back in, and try again. When the event finally triggers, the lights will go completely off, but you'll surely be awoken by the sound of sirens. It turns out that the captain of the ship, who controls his ship with a piano, has lost control of his ship. Now you have to use the knife effect to kill the captain, which will make the ship crash land on Mars. And now you've got to explore the Martian planet until you find a hill with a hole on top of it. Then, if you have the midget effect, you can shrink yourself and jump into the hole. Then you can follow some stairs, all the way down, and finally reach a strange alien. And that's it. The overall goal in this game might be to acquire all of the effects, but exploring, getting lost, and finding something weird are the true rewards of this game. I've had a hard time trying to explain it to people, but there's something so enjoyable about Yume Nikki. It's a very lonely and isolated experience. You feel like you're constantly being watched, and though nothing ever actually attacks you in this game, there's this constant fear that sooner or later, something will. You go for such long periods of time without encountering NPCs that when you finally do see them, you half expect them to serve some purpose, but beyond giving out effects, they hardly ever do. In fact, the closest thing to a conversation in this game is this. But my favourite NPC is Punica, which might strike you as weird because she's just a normal girl. But it's more so what she represents. I mean, she's just like you. She's all alone, shut up in her room. And after finding your way through vile and hostile looking landscapes, you finally meet her, this normal, lonely girl. And without even saying a word, it's like you're friends or something. As it turns out, Punica's house is pretty pointless. The only thing you can do here is turn off the lights, and from here, you might find yourself leaving this area pretty quickly. But then you'd be missing out on one of the most eeriest parts of this game. So, if you keep going in and out of the room whilst turning the lights off every time, eventually, Punica will disappear and be replaced with this abomination. The room shakes, you can't turn the lights back on, and you can't escape. And then you're transported to this bizarre realm, where a giant bleeding monster hovers above you in the sky. You've just entered Yume Zone. So, you're probably wondering how the game ends. Well, when you finally acquire all of the effects, you're supposed to drop them in the room with doors, where they'll take the form of eggs. So, after putting down all of the eggs, I returned to the real world and tried to figure out what to do next. When I finally decided to explore the balcony, and there, I noticed a stepladder that wasn't there before. This is your ending.